Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Flutter course. Uh, I record this. I'm recording this introduction at the end of having recorded all the other chapters. I initially recorded the introduction, just chronologically. I recorded the intro and then continued basically working my way through the other chapters. But when I'm basically done with all the chapters, I had to look back at the intro that I'd recorded, and I realized, well, it doesn't really match the energy of the rest of the chapter. So here I am recording the introduction at the end of having recorded all the other chapters. So I just want to say quickly who I am, what I've done, and what I'm trying to teach you in this course. So my name is Vandad. Nahavandipur. I have a very long last name. You don't have to say that, but Vandad is sufficient as my first name. And I've been doing software development for a very long time. It started with um, basically a hobby. I was taking my father's Commodore 64 without him knowing and like programming on it. And in the early days of software, like basically writing software on a Commodore 64, I was just maybe, I think I was about 6 years old. So I saw my dad always kept a notebook, and he wrote very detailed notes in it. And one day I asked him, like, Dad, what are you doing? And he said, well, I'm trying to write down what I'm learning. And I said, okay, why are you doing that? Because if you learn it, then it's in your head. And he said, then so I can teach it to other people at work. So that was a big shift in my head to understand that, okay, for someone to learn themselves, um, they actually have to write things down, and then then you're able to teach that to somebody else. So knowledge isn't something that just comes to you, it's something that you learn, and then you will be able to teach other people. So it kind of like was a shift in my head, because I always thought that, okay, like adults have knowledge, and in my 5 6 year old brain, it wasn't knowledge, it wasn't an earned thing. So I basically carried that with me, and I think that's one of the reasons I became an author later in life as well, to write technical books with O'Reilly, which I don't do anymore, but I've been doing that for almost 10 years. So I basically did software development with Commodore 64, then went on to make my own, basically build my own PCs. And I moved from Iran, which is where I was born and raised. Then I moved to England in 2007, I believe. I studied at the University of Sussex for information technology for e-commerce. And while there, I mean, I've been poor for quite a lot of my life. And I was like raised, I wouldn't say in a very poor family, but quite a poor family. We didn't have so much money to purchase stuff. And I remember, like, when I was a kid, buying banana was like such a luxury in Iran. So having come from that background, I realized it is very important for knowledge to be freely available. Like, the more I use Linux, for instance, myself, the more I realize, oh, the ability to grab information for free and tools for free is something that can be it can either make you or break you. So, for instance, if you are trying to do iOS development these days, then you have to have a Macintosh. I see that as a negative. And that's one of the reasons I like Flutter so much, because it allows you to create applications. Even if you're on a Linux machine or a Windows machine, I use Ubuntu quite a lot, and Fedora. So um, it allows you to do your work without having to purchase, for instance, a Macintosh. But that's a more wider perspective of how I think about freedom of basically freedom of expressing yourself and being able to put that information out there without charging people. So um, after moving to England, I had to basically do whatever work I could to scrape together enough money to pay for my university. So I was like doing website development with ActionScript and Flash. And then when that died out, I started with iOS development actually late 2007. And I remember back then there was pretty much no SDK. And I was learning quite a lot from a very seasoned Mac OS developer. So he and I were working, and he taught me quite a lot about Objective-C. So that kind of like snowballed, and I became an iOS developer, and I've been doing that for a very long time. And I still to date do iOS development as a consultant. But now I don't live in England anymore. So after doing my studies and living in England for about 8 years, actually 7.5 years. Then I moved to Sweden, and now I have a family here in Sweden, and I'm working professionally as a software developer. And I picked up Flutter for I think about 2 years ago, and it started as like a fun side thing. So I was just trying to learn what it is and what the big hype was. But the more I used it, the more interested I got into basically the more interesting Flutter it became for me. And I started doing some projects, and then basically I thought, wow, this is really the next big thing. Um, and still to date, I have a lot of joy of using Flutter. I do it for my own projects. I even do it for some clients. I give advice to some other companies who are thinking they're on the brink of like going from native development to Flutter development. So it is a true joy working with Flutter, and I just want to convey that to you as well in this course. So let's now focus a little bit more on this course and who this course is for. When designing the course, I was basically tasked with deciding whether this course should be like a course for advanced users, or like mid-level users, or like true beginners. And from my interactions on social media with a lot of you, I've come to the conclusion that those of you who are advanced developers, they know how to find information, and then they go and look for it, and then they will learn it because they have a lot of experience. But a lot of people who are trying to get to software development, or maybe those who have a little bit of knowledge about software development, maybe from JavaScript or something, or web development, trying to get into Flutter can be a little bit intimidating, in that you have to have quite a lot of knowledge about different things. Like, it's a whole new language of Dart, whole new SDK from Google. It's different. It works a little bit different, even though like .NET has now come out with their own like solution, which is in preview. Which I believe is called MAUI or something, and I'm experimenting a little bit with it. But it can be intimidating for new people who are trying to for people who are trying to get into software development. So what I've done in this course is I've designed it for absolute complete beginners. So someone who doesn't have any knowledge of software development at all. And some of the personas that I've created for like as ideal people watching this course are like a graphic designer who's been using Figma or Sketch trying to get into software development, or product manager, or even normal software developers who are trying to get into Flutter. So I start very, very easy, and I basically break everything down. And as you've noticed, I talk a lot because I feel like I personally watch a lot of resources on learning new things. I myself am learning Rust at the moment. I'm learning .NET. I'm continuously learning Django, and I've watched quite a lot of videos on YouTube and LinkedIn, because I have like a good membership on LinkedIn that I can watch all the Linda videos that are now part of the LinkedIn video library. And I feel like a lot of videos basically unintentionally jump over quite a lot of information just to convey only the right info to you. So watching that, even as I would call myself a seasoned software developer, I've been doing this professionally for a very long time. Even though I've been doing this for a long time, when I watch these videos that only convey the right way of doing something, it feels like they are only conveying maybe 5% of the actual information to you, because software development isn't about always writing the right piece of code from the absolute beginning. It is about the journey. It is about making the mistakes and learning, going to Stack Overflow, Googling things. It's not just writing code. So in this course, I tried real hard to make sure that I let you become a software developer, because it's not just about coding in my eyes. So in this course, I make you think like me in a way. I can't help it. I can't make you think like someone else. That's not me. So I basically put you in my skin, and we go through this journey together. It takes a while, but I hope it's worth your time. So let's talk a little bit about the level of details. There is a limit to what I can explain. So I really do my best to like explain everything that I present to you on the screen. So even if I'm moving the mouse to a special option or something, or when later in this course we're designing icons for our application, we go to Figma, for instance, as you'll see. And Figma may be a tool that you haven't used before. It's like more for graphic designer, but even there, I try to teach you how to use Figma, but to a certain extent, because this course isn't a graphic design course. I'm trying to make you a Flutter developer, but as part of becoming a Flutter developer, you also have to have some other soft skills. So I try to go into details, but just know that there is a limit to that, and this course can't become 200, 300 hours. I've already put upwards of 200 of hours, 200 upwards of 200 hours in making the course, and the course itself is already about 35 something hours. So there is a limit to what we can explain. So just know that. So if I've jumped over something, it is just in the interest of saving time. But you can find me on social media, as I'll explain later, and we can have like exchange of information. And if there's anything substantially missing from this course, I'll be more than glad to have a look at that and patch this course as we go along. All right, now let's move to the backend side of things. So if you're not familiar what a backend is, then I'm assuming that you're not a software developer from before. So a backend is where you store your data in some sort of a cloud solution somewhere in the desert. So it's a software, and it's usually what, like, if you have an application on your phone, then this application is communicating with some software that sits somewhere else, not on your phone. That is your backend. So and if you're a software developer, then you already know what a backend is. And I personally am comfortable writing backend with Node.js and Express, and also with Django. You may be comfortable writing backends with Flask, for instance, or many other backend frameworks. Uh, and during designing this course, I was basically faced with this difficult question: should I go and, as part of this course, create a custom backend, or should we use something that's already there? And I had a lot of I basically put a lot of thought into it, and I came to the conclusion that we shouldn't spend too much time with actually going to a back-end solution, because this course in itself is making you become a Flutter developer. Is I mean, if I wanted to blend this course with making you also a back-end developer, this course would go upwards of perhaps 100 hours, because I've personally watched, I would say, more than hundreds of hours of more than 100 hours of Django tutorials, both on the on YouTube and also on LinkedIn. So I couldn't basically put that strain on myself and also on you as a watcher to make this course maybe upwards of 50 hours. So in order, basically, in the sake of saving time, we're in this course using Firebase. But if you are interested in creating your own backend, I'm already thinking of designing some courses for that. So if you're a Flutter developer, or you're a front end developer, a web developer, for instance, and you're interested in becoming a backend developer, please let me know, because I can put together some courses actually about that, or even videos. Just not even, it doesn't have to be a whole course. So in this course, we're going to go with Firebase. As you'll soon see, I'll explain all of that. It's a ready product. You don't have to write so much code for it. And anybody can create a simple backend with Firebase, as you'll soon see in this course. I'm as you've noticed, I'm talking English in this course, and I hope that my accent is acceptable and something that you can understand. And but if you're not comfortable with English, I'm actually already thinking of perhaps making this course also in other languages. However, this course is very long, it is very detailed, and it could take a substantial amount of time from me to create the same course in various languages. And that's why I think, if you believe there's a community of people out there who are not very good with English because of their background, whatever, and they might be interested in learning about Flutter, please, let's have a dialogue about that, and maybe we can basically collaborate on creating this course in other languages, or maybe parts of this course which could be useful for some people who may also be able to get some information from it, but they're not comfortable with English. um, I've had this discussion with quite a lot of you on various social media platforms, and some people had suggested that we write the code by hand because it's important for everyone to see how code is written. And some people were saying, no, writing code by hand is a waste of time. I've I mainly write code here in this course by hand. However, in some places, when I notice that I've explained already something like maybe twice or three times, and it is a waste of time to explain it again, I may drag just like a one or two lines of code from my notes and just drop it into the source code editor. So it happens, but it happens rarely in this course that I don't write the code by hand, meaning that I try to write almost everything by hand so that you see the process. And this is a preference. And as I've said, I've watched quite a lot of tutorials before, and I've noticed that when code is dropped like a bomb into a source editor, I basically get a little bit of a panic because I don't know where that code came from, who wrote that code, how does it look like. So I have to personally pause every tutorial that does that and like look at the code for 5 minutes, try to understand it. And 5 minutes is an exaggeration, but it's just I have to constantly pause the videos. So in this course, I try to not put you through that and instead write the code by hand. But as you'll see, I'm quite a fast typer, so hopefully now that I'm writing the code but writing it fast, it will basically kind of be like a mix of pasting the code and writing it slowly by hand. So that's that. Um, so I also wanted to talk about that not everything is going to be perfect in this course. I personally am going to make mistakes. Sometimes I'm going to make mistakes intentionally, and sometimes they're not planned. And to be honest with you, as we go actually later in this course, the more and more advanced things get, you will notice that I personally may get not confused perhaps necessarily, but I may make mistakes. But after editing the videos, I decide to keep those mistakes in the course. And the reason is, as I mentioned earlier, I want you to become a software developer. I want you to think like a software developer. And software development isn't always perfect. Things are going to go wrong, and you need to know how to handle that. You shouldn't panic when things go wrong. So a lot of the things, like one of the biggest contributing factors to become a software developer is to think like a software developer. So I just want to make sure that you think the way I do in this course. So when you are faced with an issue, then you have the necessary tools in your toolbox to fix those issues. Okay. So, and as I said, sometimes I intentionally have planned some bugs, for instance, in our source code. And I don't want to complicate things right now, but I have a plan for that. So just to say it short, so some issues in the code, I have to wing it to fix them. And some issues, as I will tell you later in this course, I've planned in the course so that we can fix them together. Okay. So, and while designing this course, I was also faced with this question whether I should have, I mean, there's so much stuff available for Flutter out there. And there are various techniques, state management, various packages and libraries. And I was faced with this in the early stages of designing this course, what I need to explain. And since there's so much to explain and so little time, and this course is upwards of 30 hours of content, we have to be honest with each other. I can't explain all the techniques. I can't go into provider, riverpod, qubit, block state management packages. I can't go into all like top packages on pub dev and explain all of those. So we have a time constraint. So we have to be very careful and smart about what we pick in this software, because the goal of this course, for me at least, is to make sure you become a software developer using Flutter, but also you can release your product in the App Store. So this is not going to be a toy product. It's actually going to be a full-fledged note-taking application. So that is our goal. Our goal isn't to just flex our muscles and drag in 5,000 different libraries into the application. So just know that the things that I'm going to teach you in this course, I've handpicked them and thought through to make sure that they're not excessive and they're useful for the product that we're developing. So, and another thing that I need to explain here is that in order for you to be able to go through this course, you don't necessarily have to have developer accounts, but later in this course, as you'll see when we're done designing and creating our product, we're going to release it on the iOS App Store and also Google's Play Store, so that iOS and iPad OS users can download it from the App Store, and also users on an Android tablet or Android phone can download your product from Google Play Store. So in order for you to be able to do that, you need to create some accounts, both on Apple's website and also on Google Play Store. So I'll walk you through these things so you don't have to worry about that, but there is going to be some setup required. So, but don't worry, I'll show you all of that later. So let's then go to the next section in here that I want to talk about, and that is my setup. So um, I, as I was designing this course, and I said I'm recording this introduction after I'm done with all the recording of all the other chapters. I've had a thought about, I've thought it through about what I need to explain to you during the intro. And one of those things that is so important is actually my setup. You will sometimes see me looking here, you'll see me looking there, you'll see me looking like this. And sometimes you'll see me looking like this. So it is important for you to know why I'm doing all of these things. And it might actually be perceived a little bit as annoying to you. For instance, if I'm talking to you, but I'm looking here, you may be like, okay, why is he looking there? And I thought just to depict why that is happening, I'll just show you my setup so you'll understand and you'll put yourself in my shoes. So here is the setup that I currently have on my, this is literally like the setup I come to every morning. And as you'll see here, I have a little microphone that sits in front of my face. The microphone arm makes it that the microphone is literally in front of my laptop, and the laptop is the keyboard that I'm using to type the code. So if you imagine yourself, your face is somewhere here sitting on this chair, the microphone is right in front of your face, blocking the laptop screen. So sometimes if I mistype something and misspell something, it's because my fingers are placed on the keyboard incorrectly. I'm a touch typer, so I don't necessarily have to like look at the keyboard. I almost always know where my key, where how to find the keys on the keyboard. However, if I've fundamentally placed my fingers incorrectly on the keyboard and like start typing crazy stuff on the screen, I need to sometimes look like this just so I go around the microphone, and then that will fix the problem for me. So then I can just check, oh, my fingers were placed incorrectly, and here's the microphone. Just so you know, there's the microphone. Okay, so that's for where I'm sitting, and the place I'm sitting is very simple. It is basically our laundry room. So I have a filter on this microphone so that hopefully it. I mean, I don't start doing laundry when I'm recording the content in here. But if you hear some noises sometimes in the background, it has gone through the noise filter, so it must have been some huge noise, but I don't think you're going to notice that so much in this course since I have a good filter on this microphone. On top here, you have the camera right there on top of this big monitor in front of my face, which I talk to. So it's a little bit of, I mean, it's almost at eye height for me. So it's quite natural for me to talk directly to you like this. However, it's a little bit higher. So I have to strain myself a little just to be able to look here. And you don't see it necessarily maybe in full right now. These two white things in the background are key lights. So they're shining right to my face just so that you see my face vividly on the screen. And this in turn makes it quiet, straining on my eyes to look directly at the camera because there's so much light like pumped into my face. So if I sometimes look around like this, and if my eyes sometimes look a little bit tired, it's just because I feel like I'm a movie star or something with lots of lights in front of my face, and I'm not so used to that. So you'll have to apologize. You have to excuse me for that. So that's, and here, as you can see, so I do main coding on this screen right there. Okay, so that's a 5K display, and then I have an iPad also as a sidecar that sits right there, and I have my notes on that iPad. So as you can imagine, there's lots of preparation I've put into place for this course, and I need to make sure that I really convey all the information to you because I've prepared so much. I can't just jump over my notes and like improvise everything. So I have a script of what I need to tell you about, and I put those scripts on this iPad, and quite often I have to look at it and also tick some items in my scripts just to make sure I've told you about that information because I want you to get all the info I prepared for you. So if you see me looking here, it's simply because I need to ensure that I'm telling you all the info that I've prepared to tell you. Okay, so it's not me being rude and not wanting to look at you. All right, so that's quickly about my setup. Let's talk about now how things evolve. We are using Flutter in this project, and I mean, things move. Flutter is a software, is an SDK developed by Google. It will be evolving all the time, and new versions come out. New versions of Dart come out. The different dependencies that we're dropping into this application will also evolve over time, like Firebase, and as it did happen when I had designed this course, when I designed the course completely, it took about 2 months. And then after designing the course, Firebase had completely changed. So I had to go and almost redesign the course, at least half of it. So there are lots of moving parts, and I can't help it. Firebase is not a product I have control over, and in the world of software, things move fast. So I've done my best to cover all the things to the latest version into 2022, and as things evolve, I'm planning to keep this course alive. So I will be adding things to this course. I will be modifying things, and I may actually re-upload a complete, like take out one of the videos from this course and replace it with a completely new one, just to ensure that things are basically in line with the latest versions of Firebase, for instance. Okay. Now, you may notice that in this course, I may be coughing from now and then. And the reason is I'm not used so much to talking so much at such volumes. Like I may be like thinking sometimes to myself just out loud, why did this happen? And it's just like it's such a low volume. But when I'm talking to the microphone here, it's like talking to a person. So it requires a lot of talking on my part, and my voice is just, I'm just not used to talking so much. So this puts a lot of strain on my throat, as you'd imagine, and it causes me sometimes to cough. Now, they're not like ginormous coughs, but you will hear me every now and then coughing, and I apologize in advance for that. However, me spending a lot of time moving those coughs outside the videos, it is a full-time job. So, but I don't want to scare you. I'm not going to cough so much, but I just want to apologize in advance if there are some coughs every now and then in the videos. Okay. Now we're getting very close to actually jumping into the course. I know that you're very, very excited for it. And as you know, I put this course out for free. I don't want really anything in return. I know some of you are not even able to, you can't maybe financially even support anyone at the moment. And I completely get that. And that's completely fine by me. If you want to, I would be more than glad if you could just follow me on social media in return for this course. So I would be really grateful if you could follow me on Twitter at Vandad and if you could also follow me on LinkedIn, because I put out content quite often on these two social media platforms. So it would be lovely if you could just follow me there. And I'm getting more and more into YouTube. So I will be putting more and more videos and even live streams on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. So I would love to hear from you, your comments. So if you don't want to miss my content also on YouTube, it's great if you want to subscribe. If you don't, that's also fine. And I've mentioned this before in social media, but as you'll know, I have no budget basically for spreading the word and marketing this course. I mean, there's no buck to be made for this from this course for me. I'm not making money by making this course. I just making what I'm making is joy of seeing you become a software developer. So a lot of you have asked if I need help in this course. And yes, I actually do need help. And the help that I need is you spreading this word and also you going through this course. So to become a software developer. So if you want to do two things for me is just to spread the word about this course to other people who might need it. Because I don't have any money to make an advertisement for this course other than basically telling my followers on Twitter and LinkedIn. And also, if you could basically go through this course, that's advertisement enough. If you could just go through this course and make sure that you learn everything, that would just make me so happy. And for those of you who, I mean, this has been mentioned before on social media. Some people said that, well, but some people may actually want to support you. And if someone out there wants to support me, you're more than welcome to buy me a cup of coffee on buymeacoffee.com/Vandad. And this is not mandatory. Anybody who wants to do it, you can do it in this way. Okay. And now we're gonna jump into this course. So you will know now at the end of, I mean, you may not, well, you don't definitely know it, but at the end of every video, I will explain what we're gonna discuss in the next video. Okay. So in the next video after this introduction, we're going to be looking at some of the prerequisites of app development. And this is where we basically set up our developer account on Apple's website and Google's website. So enough with the intro. I know you're excited to get into this Flutter course, and I'm also very excited to start this journey with you. So let's get started together.